One ruling, just a few pages, and an empire crumbles. No flashing lights, no dramatic press conference, no grand announcement, just the Supreme Court's final hammer. The Trump Organization, a name synonymous with wealth, influence, and controversy, has been ordered to be completely dissolved. In mere hours, the world paused, markets trembled, politicians scrambled, and social media exploded. This isn't just a business theory. This is a historic moment in American law, politics, and power. And today, we're diving deep into what happened, why it happened, and why it matters to everyone, everywhere. It all began quietly. The Supreme Court released its ruling with a calm, clinical tone, no theatrics, no sensational language, just legal precision. And yet, the meaning was undeniable. The Trump Organization, as it had existed for decades, could no longer operate. For decades, the Trump Organization had been more than a business. It was a symbol, a brand intertwined with politics, power, and personal identity. Its projects spanned real estate, hospitality, licensing deals, and ventures across the globe. Every building, every logo, every contract carried not just financial value, but a political and cultural weight. Lower courts had already flagged repeated financial misrepresentations, discrepancies in corporate filings, and patterns of systemic misconduct. Appeals and motions were filed, legal teams fought fiercely, but the Supreme Court's final ruling made one thing abundantly clear. Reputation, fame, or political influence cannot shield an organization from accountability. Within minutes of the ruling, cable news anchors paused mid-sentence. Analysts stared at their screens. Social media erupted with memes, outrage, disbelief, and celebration. Supporters decried political persecution. Critics hailed long overdue justice. Investors, partners, and employees were left scrambling to process the immediate implications. This wasn't a fine. This wasn't a temporary restriction. This was the full weight of the law, delivered in one decisive blow. To understand how this unprecedented decision came to pass, we need to rewind the clock. Over the years, the Trump Organization operated in a complex intersection of politics and business. Tax investigations, allegations of misleading lenders, lawsuits over financial disclosures, and civil claims built a cumulative case that could no longer be ignored. Investigators meticulously documented discrepancies. Every real estate transaction, every corporate filing, and every financial statement was dissected line by line. The argument presented to the courts was that these weren't isolated mistakes. They were systemic issues baked into the company's structure. Lower courts found patterns of misrepresentation and financial practices that skirted legal boundaries. Even appeals, technical arguments, and warnings about economic impact failed to sway the judiciary. Judges concluded that the organization's existing structure could not operate lawfully without continuing violations. Experts stressed the historical rarity of this decision. Corporate dissolutions of this magnitude, especially tied to politically prominent figures, are almost unheard of. The Supreme Court wasn't just punishing a company, it was sending a message. No entity, no matter how influential, is above the law. The ruling also laid out detailed oversight mechanisms. Trustees will manage asset liquidation, ensure compliance, and prevent any continuation of business under misleading pretenses. This structural reset wasn't merely punitive, it was corrective, designed to restore integrity to a system repeatedly tested and misused. As news of the dissolution spread, the immediate reactions were staggering. Wall Street responded first. Stocks tied to Trump-affiliated ventures, luxury real estate, and partnerships fell sharply. Investors began reassessing risks and contingency plans. Some distanced themselves immediately to avoid legal exposure or reputational harm. Media coverage became relentless. Cable news interrupted normal programming to dissect every sentence of the ruling. Analysts debated potential economic ripple effects, while legal experts explained the broader significance of systemic accountability. Social media amplified the drama. Supporters framed it as political persecution. Critics celebrated justice, long delayed. Memes, viral clips, and threads dissecting the ruling dominated feeds worldwide. Amid the chaos, one voice cut through: Warren Buffett. Unlike the frenzy of political commentary, Buffett's response was measured. He spoke not of personalities or partisan battles, but of transparency, governance, and long-term accountability in business. The contrast was stark: spectacle versus credibility, emotion versus logic. Markets listened. Regulators took note. History would remember this moment. Section 4. Political reverberations. The Supreme Court's ruling wasn't confined to the courtroom. It ignited political shockwaves. Republican leaders who had long navigated loyalty to Trump faced an impossible dilemma. Moderate Republicans in swing districts cautiously supported the rule of law, acknowledging the court's authority without directly criticizing Trump. Meanwhile, staunch allies rallied to his side, denouncing the ruling as politically motivated. Social media mirrored this divide. Hashtags supporting Trump trended alongside ones celebrating the court's decision. Party strategists debated how this would impact upcoming primaries and elections. Every politician was forced to confront a new reality. A previously untouchable empire had been legally dismantled, and public perception would be decisive. Democratic leaders seized the opportunity to emphasize accountability and checks and balances. They framed the dissolution as proof that no one, not even a former president, is above the law. This wasn't just about business. It was about governance, democracy, and the enduring power of institutions. By day's end, Washington was in turmoil. Alliances were questioned, loyalty scrutinized, and political calculations recalibrated. The Supreme Court's ruling had triggered a domino effect that could reshape the political landscape for months, if not years. The shockwaves weren't limited to the U.S. International investors, partners, and media quickly registered the significance of the dissolution. European outlets highlighted global business accountability. Asian financial journalists debated the precedent it set for politically connected corporations, and markets worldwide reacted in real time. While the direct financial footprint of the Trump Organization was relatively small compared to the U.S. economy, the symbolic impact was enormous. Investors who entrusted Trump-branded properties as stable assets reconsidered risk profiles. Across continents, the ruling reinforced a powerful message: influence, fame, and branding do not guarantee immunity. Buffett's commentary remains central, emphasizing structure, governance, and long-term compliance. Markets are ultimately driven by systems and reliability, not just celebrity branding or political power. Investors and analysts alike shared his measured perspective amidst the frenzy. Section 6. Trump's response and legacy. Trump reacted swiftly and predictably. Outrage, defiance, and theatrics dominated statements across social media, press releases, and interviews. He framed the ruling as politically motivated, repeatedly calling it a witch hunt and an attack on American business. He sought to energize his base, emphasizing loyalty, anger, and resistance, rather than measured reflection. Legal analysts noted that despite the rhetoric, the ruling left little room for reinterpretation. Appeals would be difficult, and reversal unlikely. Internally, aides debated messaging strategy: calm compliance versus public theatrics. Trump chose both: defiance to rally supporters, strategic maneuvering behind the scenes to protect remaining influence. The dissolution represents both a legal and symbolic blow. For a man whose brand has long been synonymous with power and influence, it is a historic moment of vulnerability. Financially, contracts terminate, projects are reassessed, and employees face uncertainty. Politically, his perceived invincibility is challenged, giving rivals ammunition to question his authority. For the broader public, this sets a precedent. No individual, regardless of fame, political stature, or branding, is above accountability. Corporations and leaders worldwide now have a vivid warning. Systemic violations carry consequences, and legal oversight can reach even the most prominent empires. The Trump Organization, an empire built on wealth, power, and political influence, is officially being dismantled. The ruling is not merely a corporate matter. It's a historic statement on accountability, governance, and the rule of law. Markets reacted, social media exploded, and politicians recalibrated. Globally, observers recognized the precedent being set. And through it all, one voice, Warren Buffett's, reminded the world of fundamental business truths: structure, transparency, and compliance matter more than fame or spectacle. For Trump, the next chapters will involve political, legal, and financial navigation in uncharted territory. For the world, The moment is a vivid lesson. Even the most iconic empires can fall when systems enforce rules without bias. The end of the Trump organization is more than the end of a company, and it serves as a reminder that in the face of law, power has limits, and no empire, however grand, is untouchable.